The narrative then dives further into our lead's history, disclosing that in a past existence, he was once a figure of dread and prestige. Back then, he was hailed as a legendary sovereign, the most dominant force of all. However, that status required ruthless choices, as he claimed endless lives and committed various atrocities. Ultimately, someone of his caliber ended up being reborn, gaining a fresh chance to exist in a totally different way. The focus shifts to the past, where Jasmine recruits him for a new objective. As they travel, they observe a transport rolling down the path and resolve to go over the mission specifics. Arthur clarifies that they lost touch with a settlement situated near the notorious Beast Glades, and consequently, he feels the optimal strategy is to check out the area. The girl then inquires what the safety ranking of the task is, and Arthur replies bluntly, the top priority is to stay alive. She keeps probing, wanting to know the plan if they run into numerous aggressive monsters. Arthur makes it clear that the goal is not to engage them, so there is no point in taking pointless gambles. Then he asks what Sylvia plans to do, and the reply comes that she will keep practicing in a nearby spot. Arthur nods and mentions that he will contact her when everything is set. Scanning the dirt, Arthur points out something odd and asks if Jasmine caught it. He responds himself immediately, observing that there are tons of tracks heading into the town, but virtually none coming out. This instantly triggers a warning. Jasmine asks what they should do, and Arthur determines that the initial move is to collect intel before making a play. When they reach the village, they see that there is no evidence of the residents. Arthur suggests the chance of a creature raid, but Jasmine finds it weird that there is no sign of a struggle. Due to that, they resolve to probe deeper. Upon entering one of the structures, they discover several gems littered around the room. As they study them more intently, they grasp something horrific. Many individuals are stuck inside those shards, totally immobilized. At that point, Arthur spots a panicked girl close by. He moves in and asks what occurred, but she is in a daze and cannot clarify clearly. Regardless, she says that she was in the woods picking healing plants, and when she came back, she found everyone that way. Abruptly, a string appears linked to her, and the girl is fast-tracked toward a concealed predator. Arthur gets ready to save her, but Jasmine tells him to hold. Before they can act effectively, she ends up being encased as well. Facing the crisis, Arthur weighs backing out to notify the organization and get back up. The scene transitions to a pack of masked figures debating the so-called triple pact between humans, elves, and dwarves. To them, that merger is not something positive. They think the world should obey its innate rhythm, and that occasionally it is better to let folks be swept by that tide. One of them asks about the Beast Glades, and another says that it is a location where those who will define the future of the continent drill and refine their talents. Watching this, he remarks that he would love to strip all of that from those people, feeling that the situation might be more intriguing than it first appeared. Back to Arthur's predicament, he asks what that beast is. The girl explains that it is an Arakan, one of the 5 monsters she would least want to fight. Arthur asks how many times she has battled one, and she says that it has been over 5 times, having triumphed only once. She also adds that Reynolds and Alice, Arthur's folks, were there on that day, and that without them, specifically without Alice, they would not have been able to win. She further details that only emitters can break the spell cast by an Arakan. Without that, the only path is to slay it outright, which is insanely tough since these pests have high durability and are barely touched by magic. Their plating is incredibly rugged, able to deflect even blade strikes. Arthur then asks if there is any shot at success, and she says that she is not certain. However, she notes a crucial fact. Arakan hate sunlight. They usually reside deep inside vaults, which makes this scenario even more bizarre. Then, she reminds Arthur of everything she has already coached him regarding being an operative, stressing that it is not just about brawling, but about knowing how to survive. She then asks what he plans to do now. Arthur concludes that the smartest route would be to bail, notify the guild, and return with the required backup to rescue the town. Faced with that, Arthur starts to recall all the hurdles he has battled throughout his life. Instead of fleeing, he chooses to fight. He parries the beast's first strike and, backing off, continues shielding himself against many hits. His veteran moves surface, remembering when he was regarded as the most elite among all, winning conflicts with ease. Even hitting repeatedly, he finds that his blades are not doing real damage. So he decides to drop his limiter, causing his edge to be coated in fire. When he hits the monster, it starts to combust. But Arthur remembers what was noted. Magic is not very useful against arachne. Without wasting a second, he shifts tactics, using a ground strike to toss the beast into the air and pelt it with many rocks, finally managing to inflict some pain. Then he stops a riposte and connects a clean shot to the creature's head, following it up with a shock burst that makes it back off. Even so, the arachne is not downed easily. Arthur, already drained, recalls a legacy blade style. When he executes it, it looks as if reality stalls for a beat, and he slices the beast with accuracy, finally managing to kill it. However, the drain is huge, and he becomes totally burnt out after using that skill. This energy comes from his previous life, merging blade arts with the magic of this world. Even so, he knows that he is still far from hitting his peak form and that he needs to keep grinding. Shortly after, his little buddy pops up and hugs him, asking if he is okay. Relieved, Arthur asks him to assist with Jasmine. When she finally gets back to normal, she displays anger at the fact that Arthur did not bail as planned. He says sorry, admitting that he moved on gut feeling. Despite everything that had occurred, Jasmine decides not to stay mad at Arthur. Instead, she realizes that he also had his own motives for acting that way. Even so, her interest piques, and she bluntly asks how he managed to scrap such a lethal beast. Arthur replies in a basic and candid way, saying that it is a skill needed to survive in this realm, but he makes it known that it is not something he actually wants to have. When Jasmine asks what type of talent he would really want to possess, Arthur answers without pausing. He only wants enough grit to guard the people who are vital to him. As he says this, he thinks of the past, noting that because he was weak, he ended up being split from his parents and from Ellie. The memory still feels heavy, and he admits that if he had more clout at that point, he might have been able to stop all of that. Jasmine, upon hearing this, says sorry, feeling the burden of the moment. However, Arthur replies with poise, saying that the past cannot be edited. Because of that, he decided that he will push forward and live without guilt from now on. Even so, Jasmine shows worry, noting that his folks would be crushed if something happened to him, and asks him not to take gambles for her sake. Arthur, however, replies solidly that this is impossible since she is also someone vital to him. Upon hearing this, Jasmine becomes clearly flustered, not knowing how to act at that second. After the talk, Arthur remembers that he still needs to grab the monocore of the slain Arakan. However, when he glances to the side, he sees that his pet had already totally eaten the creature, leaving nothing over. Later, after saying bye to the locals, they resolve to return to the Workers' Guild. When they get there, one of Arthur's peers is totally blown away to find that he had killed an Arakan. Soon after, another guy appears, showing doubt and arguing that it was a lie, since a beast of that tier should not pop up on the surface. Arthur then asks what would be needed for him to buy it, and the guy says that he would like to see the monocore as proof. Unable to show the heart since his pet had gorged everything, Arthur ends up being questioned by some. However, to validate his win, he decides to show the beast's head. Upon seeing it, the guy is stunned and confesses that the account is legit, although he still tries to trash the feat, saying that it would not be a big deal for him. Faced with that ego, Arthur decides that he will not count on his assistance in the future and just strolls away, no longer giving it any weight. At that second, Jasmine calls the guy, signaling that it is already time for them to head out. After everything that went down, they decide to return to Arthur's residence. As soon as they arrive and meet with his family, the vibe shifts totally. His dad, always curious, asks if he has any new field stories to share. Without delay, Arthur mentions that along with the others, he ended up taking on and killing an Arakan. The father is awed by the news, knowing how hard it is to handle a beast like that. His mother, however, acts differently, showing massive stress about the threat her kid faced. The father then notes that even they had struggles when fighting similar beasts in the past. Jasmine adds that in her own missions, they had come close to failing several times against that class of enemy. Given that, the father asks how Arthur managed to win solo. The boy explains that he saw the creature's crazy defense and decided to focus all his hits on one specific spot. In addition, he used his magic wisely, picturing that he could cause damage from the inside out. Upon hearing this logic, Alice asks Arthur to step closer. As soon as he does, the mood shifts, becoming more heavy, as if that second carries more significance. She reminds him that he had sworn not to get into sketchy situations. Arthur tries to explain himself, saying that as an adventurer, it is almost impossible to skip risks all the time. Even so, Alice insists that a vow must be kept, no matter the factors. The boy bows his head and admits that he is sorry for not being able to keep his word without letting the point go. Alice also calls Jasmine's attention, wanting to grasp exactly how everything played out. She recalls that among the most lethal beasts, Arakan are among those that one should bolt from immediately. Arthur tries to shield Jasmine, saying that it was not her fault, but his mother cuts him off, making it clear that right now she is talking directly to the girl. Jasmine says sorry genuinely, admitting that the situation spiraled out of control. Alice, visibly upset, starts to sob, saying that she had sworn to train Arthur right and keep him safe. The father then steps in, trying to chill things out. He simply asks that next time, Arthur obey Jasmine's orders without debate. The boy takes the heat without talking back. Jasmine then explains that she has already asked the guild to probe what happened in the town, since that did not look like a normal freak accident. The father agrees and says that he will also tell Helen and the crew to stay sharp. Then he tries to cut the gloom, asking his wife to quit crying. Despite the risk Arthur faced, he thinks there is also a reason to toast the win. Alice takes a breath and bit by bit admits that he is right. With time, the vibe gets lighter and everyone decides to party together, enjoying the time as a family. After that, Arthur decides to spar with Jasmine, and the two start an intense chain of strikes, trading hits for real. During the workout, both realize that they need to skip repeating the errors of the past, learning from what occurred. While they scrap, Arthur thinks about his prior life and the vow he made to protect the people he loves. To hit that goal, he knows he needs to get even more buff. It is not just about power for ego, but about having enough muscle to keep everyone secure. After the drill, he feels a different wind blowing through the area, something weird that grabs his focus. Because of that, he pivots and asks how Tesha is doing, making it clear that even after everything, there are still many big things filling up his mind.